Montana, writing on the wall. I gotta tell you, I'm an old man, but I'm starting to like this Post Malone guy. Everything he does is gold to me. This song is called Writing on the Wall. Cardi B, Post Malone, Russian with some crazy B in his name. I don't know what's going on with that. It's nuts. But anyway, we're live. Name of the song is Writing on the Wall because the writing is on the wall, and today's topic is writing. Everybody's excited about that, I'm sure. We're at Unit 1.10 in your Global Studies curriculum. Let's talk about Writing 101. I just want to clarify this right here, right? That 101, you might hear that, like especially when you get to college, they use that coding. The first number is the year that you're in. So if you're year one, that means you're a freshman. You guys are freshmen, so that works for me. And the course number, this is our first course on good writing so far this year. And so this is Writing 101. Today, we're going to be checking out constructing a response to a question. How do we construct a proper response to a question, which we are going to abbreviate as a CRQ. Constructed response to a question is a CRQ. And I've laid out on the board in advance, and then we're actually going to write a response to a question live. But I have laid out on the board what I believe, what I'm going to teach you are 3 valuable steps to constructing a proper response to a question. The first step that we're going to follow is to write a fact. And by a fact, you know I don't like these words facts and opinions. I like to think of things as positions, but we are going to start by restating part of the question and then answering that question with a strong logical position. We're going to present it as if it is a fact. So when I write fact, we are presenting a strong position that restates part of the question, and we are presenting it in such a way, in such a strong way, that it comes across as fact. Remember what we're up to here, right? In the old social studies curriculum, we want to take our weak arguments and we want to turn them into strong arguments, and this is the first step in doing so. Next, our second step, we have to prove this position. And the way that I'm going to teach you to prove your position is to cite documented proof. And what do we mean by documented proof? Maybe it's some statistics, maybe some quotes from experts or out of a respected textbook or a journal, something of that nature. Something, maybe some primary evidence like photographs can offer documented proof of your position. And I'm going to teach you to cite documented proof of your position. And the way that we're going to do it in our writing, pretty much universally until you start to find your own voice as a writer. I don't want to overscript, but I also want to teach you how to do it properly until you find your own voice as a writer. I'm going to encourage you to start these sentences with according to, and then you fill in the blank with whatever documented proof you have found. According to blank, it shows, and then you describe what this documented proof shows you that reinforces this strong position. And we're going to model this in a second. If you're confused, we're going to show you exactly how to do that in a moment. Our third step, after we have formed an answer with a strong position and proven it using cited documentation as proof, then we're going to get to step 3, where you use the storylines that these social scientists that we've learned about. We take one of these social scientists' storylines and we use that to show how social scientists would agree with what we're saying. And again, to script the writing, you know, at least until you find your voice as a writer on your own, this sentence will generally start with most, and then you fill in the social scientist blank, you know, most psychologists, most sociologists, most geographers, whoever you're picking, most fill in the social scientists would agree that, and then you describe what those social scientists would think, right? And you describe the storyline where it seems as if they would agree with what you're saying, right? And there's a little art to that. You have to find the social scientist. There's the bell. It's not yours, though. Don't be going anywhere. You want to find the social scientist that would agree most closely with what you're saying, because we do have several social scientists to choose from. I'm just going to walk you over here. These are the social scientists that we have learned about in class so far. Historians, geographers, anthropologists, economists, sociologists, psychologists, political scientists, right? Each of these subcategories of the social sciences has a little different tilt to it, and you have to kind of use your brain to figure out which social scientist's thinking would lend itself to proving what you want to prove. And we will model this here in a moment. So let's get to the modeling. I'm going to start with a very simple question, which you probably a month ago would have told me is just an opinion question and can't be wrong. But we're going to take this simple question and we're going to construct a response to this question that follows these steps. And I hope you will appreciate by the time we're done that we've really created a strong position that's almost like, I'll refer to it as bulletproof, where if somebody wanted to say, oh, no, that's a terrible opinion, right? They can't really say that because you've constructed it in such a way, you've constructed your position in such a way where the argument seems super logical. So here's the question I want to address. And we'll walk you over to the little blank side of the board over here so I can write on the board. The question we're going to address is, and here's my blank, what would you do if you hit the lottery? What would you do with the money if you hit the lottery? So just so we don't forget the prompt, the writing prompt. The question is, what to do if I hit the lottery? Let me make sure that's on the board there. Oh. Okay. So let's start. There it is. I had to get that in the screen somewhere. Let's start by following our steps. Step one, just as a refresher, step one was to form a fact that restates part of the question. And so let's draft a sentence that forms a fact that restates part of this question. What would I do if I hit the lottery? I'm, of course, going to start my sentence with, if I hit the lottery, because now I've restated part of the question. If I hit the lottery, pardon me, unit 1.10. I would pay off, and so now I'm getting into the strong position statement. I'm going to phrase it as if it is a fact, although clearly, right, it is sort of just a position. Other people might disagree. If I hit the lottery, I would pay off all my debt and invest the rest of the money. Period. Now, this isn't a terribly exciting answer, right? I'm kind of a dull guy. I'm not going out and buying fast cars. I'm not taking trips to Hawaii. I'm sure we could think of a lot of other things to do if I hit the lottery. But this is my factual answer. At least I am presenting it like it is a fact. This is really just a strong position. And somebody might say, Mr. Conley, you crazy, because it's just a simple position, right? It's an opinion. And, I don't like that word, but it's an opinion. Okay? We've got to find a way to construct a response that's stronger than just that. And so we're going to continue following our steps. And over here, we see that the next step is to cite documented proof of my position, right? I'm going to cite documented proof that my position is in fact a good one. And my suggested scripted writing is according to blank, it shows blank. Okay, and so I'm going to come back over here, and I'm now going to use interest rates on investments, right? I could look up some statistics, and I don't have these in front of me, but on a real question, you will actually have like documents that I provide to you, right? And so I would use those documents and those statistics that the experts have generated on a money investment and the way that interest works, and I'm going to use that type of documented proof of my position. If I hit the lottery, I would pay off all my debt and invest the rest of my money. According to historical charts, again, I don't have those charts right in front of me, but given, I could definitely Google and find them. According to historical charts, interest rates and stock investments can grow money by about 8% a year. Let's say 6 to 8. We don't want to lie. Okay, I have now proven that investing my money is a wise decision because those investments can grow my money by about 6 to 8% a year. Now, if we were interested in going further with that proof, there's nothing to say that we can't add sentences. I could go on to explain that, with this in mind, if I hit the lottery and invested $1 million, right, then I would be making $60,000 to $80,000 a year on my investment for doing nothing. Right? And I could go on to explain that, but I don't have to at this particular point. We're going to keep this simple. We will eventually learn how to expand this when we get to essay writing in the future. So there is my proof. I have cited documentation from statistics that show how money grows when it is invested. Now we move on to the social scientist storyline. And I'm just going to wheel you back over to our social scientist. This is, again, a little bit of an art form. We need to find a social scientist whose thinking lends itself to backing up the storyline that we are trying to share. And the storyline we're trying to get across is that investing your money, if you hit the lottery, is the right move. And so there are some social scientists that probably lend itself to that type of thinking. I see a couple right off the top of my head. A psychologist might say, because they study how the individual human brain works, a psychologist might say, humans really feel safe when they don't have the stresses that come along with financial despair, right? And so by creating a safe situation where I'm never going to go broke again, a psychologist might say, hey, that really is going to pay off of my stress level, and it's going to lead to better mental health and a better life. An economist often studies the money, goods, and services of people, particularly the decisions we make given scarce resources. We could make the argument that the scarcity of resources, of money, right, that scarcity of money is no good, right? That we would like to grow our money so that we can purchase more goods and services in the future. We don't want a limited amount. Right? We don't have to limit the amount and just spend what we hit on the lottery. We could grow that amount and be able to purchase more goods and services. And so an economist might be able to back up the storyline that we're trying to prove. And so I just got to pick one, right? It doesn't really matter which one I pick. And if you had some other thought how these other social scientists might apply their thinking, that would all be legit too. Just for ease of argument, I'm going to take the position of a psychologist. And so we're going to come back over here. And the third step, of course, is to develop this social scientist storyline. And we wheel over to our good little writing that we're doing here. Try and reposition this camera so you can see it. Perfect. Okay, and now I am going to develop that third step about how a psychologist would view my opinion or my position on this matter. And I'm just going to explain the storyline through the eyes of a psychologist. Most psychologists would agree so there's that sort of like writing prompt, if you will, that I mentioned over on the other board. Most psychologists would agree that putting my mind at ease will reduce stress or financial stress. Most psychologists would agree that putting my mind at ease will reduce stress due to finances and lead to a better life. Period. And so here is my constructed response to the question, what would you do if you hit the lottery? If I hit the lottery, I would pay off all my debt and invest the rest of the money. According to historical charts, interest rates and stock investments can grow money by about 6 to 8% a year. Most psychologists would agree that putting my mind at ease will reduce stress due to finances and lead to a better life. Pow! I hope you can, at home, as you watch this video, appreciate how professional that sounds as a piece of writing, right? And that is not just a one-sentence answer anymore that sort of lays out a wishy-washy opinion. We've really developed our position by proving it and by adding the sort of storyline of how a social scientist might feel about things. And the result is great, right? The result is a really professional block of sentences, 3 sentences that has something to say and is meaningful. And as we develop our writing, we'll find that writing paragraphs is really nothing more than taking blocks of these or groups of these 3-sentence sort of constructed responses and linking them together to tell an even bigger story. And hopefully that will make essay writing. Now we're on to you. Right? Now it's your turn. You're going to develop your own 3-sentence constructed response to the same question. What would you do if you hit the lottery?